Hi guys, I'm Susanna. I'm back with another video, and this time I'm again back with another TBR for myself for 2020. I like these videos when we get to this part of the year when I'm starting to plan out what I'm doing over the next year. This series is about a couple of big books I have to read over the next year, and I'm planning on reading them physically. So it's a bit of more of a challenge for me because audios is no problem. So these 6 books is books that I'm planning on reading over the next year, and they are all relatively large books. So I have 6 books because then I have about 2 months for me to read it, and which is fine. 3 of them are from my TBR unwrapping and 3 of them are not. So let's get over the books that I have plans to read over the next year. The first one I have is probably also one of those I'm going to pick up first. Either the first or the last, because I feel like it's one of those books that's good to read when it's like winter. And that is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I know a lot of people really enjoyed this book. And I know that Susanna Clarke is coming out with a new book this year. And a lot of people are excited about that. This one is 800 pages, I think. 782 pages long. It looks a lot thicker. But again, I think sometimes the thickness of the pages are a bit misleading, but I'm looking forward to reading this and seeing if it's something I will enjoy. People compare it to Pride and Prejudice or Jane Austen's writing, just with a mix of fantasy. Personally, I haven't read much Jane Austen. I've read half of Pride and Prejudice, so we'll see if it's one that connects with me, but I hope that I will love it, and then I can go back and read a bunch of Jane Austen books and see how that goes. Another book is a fairly new release that I have recently hauled, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a fantasy book. It's one of the most hyped fantasy books, adult fantasy books of the year, because it's sort of been marketed as a YA book is marketed in the YA part of the booktube community or the book community. So it has a lot of hype. I hope that I will enjoy it as well. I hope that it's not too cliche in terms of adult fantasy, but I am looking forward to reading it, and I think the cover is amazing. I have seen both good and positive and negative things about this book, so I'm interested in seeing where I will fall on the spectrum. I'm usually a lot more cool about going into a book if I've seen both negative and positive reviews, rather than if all of the reviews have been positive, because then I feel like no book is that perfect and there's probably going to be a big chance that I won't like it. Another book that I have on my list, I don't know when I will read this one, but it's also a newly released from 2019, and that is another recently hauled book, and that is The Starless C by Erin Morgenstern. This is the second book that she's published, and it is the author of The Night Circus, obviously. It is a book within a book kind of story, and I'm hoping I will enjoy it. This book is actually, I thought it was longer. It's only about 500 pages long, so I thought it was longer. Apologies for this being put on here, but I'm sticking with it. Now the next book is a Stephen King book, and this has been, I think, the book that I've had on my TBR, physical TBR, the longest. It's not been on my Goodreads TBR the longest, but this has been on my TBR longer than I've been on Goodreads. For some reason, it took me a while to add the books that I already owned. And I've been really apprehensive about this book because it features a certain creature that I have had a little bit of a fear of since I was very little. And that is It by Stephen King, because I have difficulties with clowns and stuff and people who are dressed up and don't show their true face. It's something that has been irking me since I was a young kid. Especially, I also didn't like Santa, so Santa never was a present thing. It didn't come to Christmas because I was scared of people with beards. So instead we had the Nisser, which was a lot less scary for me, which is weird because like these little things that runs around doing tricksy stuff and stuff like that. I did think about Santa, but I don't think at the time that it would have been a good idea for him to come to our house. But I'm looking forward to reading this also because I've really come to enjoy Stephen King's writing, and I hear so many people talking about this book as one of their favorites. It's a Danish edition of it, and I bought it already back in 2006 or 7 or something like that, and I never picked it up. I think I read the first. I have dog-eared the page. I've dog-eared the page on page 55, like in the middle of a thing. But back then I didn't read at all. So I don't know why I bought it, but I was just thinking I might be able to like Stephen King. Also because I watched the movie, scared me to death, and thought I wanted to read this and get acquainted with Stephen King that way, but I never finished it. Now I'm ready to read it. Okay, it's 1,021 pages long in this edition. But you can see the text is extremely small, so I don't know if I have to find an audio for this, but I'm really looking forward to reading this, and I don't like looking at the cover, so I always put it face down on my stacks. This is it on my TBR next year, also because I think I'm only about 2 books away from starting this one in my Stephen King project, and I'm definitely continuing that in 2020. Another book I have on my list is another TBR unwrapping. So Stephen King's It was the second. This is another one, and that is Daughter of the Forest by Juliet and Marillier. I've wanted to read this since I unwrapped it. For some reason I just haven't picked it up, and I have a feeling I'm just really going to love this one. I hear so great things about Juliet Marillier's writing and this series in general. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the fuss is about, and if I'm going to be joining the hype train. This one is 651 pages, so also quite a lengthy book. I just decided to add another book because I remembered it. As the 6th book I'm planning on reading over the next year is Ruin by Gwynne. In a perfect world, I'll finish the series over this year because I love the first 2 books. So maybe when I finish this one, I've heard that this one is called Ruin for a reason, so I might want to just dive into the 4th and final book in this series. But I have Ruin on my TBR for now, and looking forward to seeing how this will go. This one is 746 pages, so definitely one of the longer books again. And the last and final book on my TBR for this Big Book TBR thing is Night Shadow by Sebastian de Castell, because I really would like to continue with this one. I love the first one, and I read the first 32 pages and enjoyed it so much again, but I didn't continue because I started too many books at the same time and had to sort of single something out in the midst. And I ended up with some other books, and now I'm ready to definitely continue with this series. So I'm happy to say that out of these 7 books, only one of them is the first in the new series, and the rest is like a standalone or continuations. So that is something that is also a little bit important to me, because I do want to try and stick with and work on my serious books and not starting too many, because it has gone overboard a lot. And I know I'm not going to not read first in the series this year, because I'm not able to completely avoid it because of hypes and stuff, and if I have to take part in the Booktube SFF Awards again, I want to read the books that are nominated. So if there are first in the series, then I don't have much of a choice. But I am making a big effort to read more books from series and finishing them, rather than starting new series. And if I start new series, I want to try and stick with those series and actually get a move on in them as well, which is also something I've been thinking a lot about over this past year. So yeah, those are the books that I want, big books I want to try and work on over the next year. Let me know in the comments down below if any of these books are on your TBR, and if you have read any of them, if you're excited about me reading them. Definitely also let me know about that. Are there any big books that you're intimidated by but that you're planning on reading in 2020? Also let me know about that in the comments down below, and I will, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.